You lean against the wall, you look her up and down, you pick out all her flaws when nobody is around. You watch her do her hair, you've seen her all dressed up, but sometimes you're so mean when she's not wearing any makeup. So this morning when she wakes up, look her in the eyes and tell her she's pretty.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Two Beers with the Band. I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Walker County.
Hello.
They are a Nashville-based indie singers, songwriters, and musicians. All right, ladies, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes.
And introduce your beer.
We're so excited to be here. Thank you for having us. We're a sister duo, so I'm the oldest, so I probably will talk the most, naturally.
I don't know.
My name is Ivy Dean, and I sing and play lead guitar in the duo. And
Yes, and I'm
sister.
I'm Sophie Dawn, and I play drums, and I also sing harmonies mostly. And
Yeah. We've been doing this for, I want to say almost 17 years, since we were 9 and 12. So it's been a long time, and we're excited. We don't know too much about beer, but we are going to give it our best go. So we brought one for y'all to try. I'm going to read it here. The Good People Brewing Company. It's the Oktoberfest. We thought it was very fitting since it's going to be October here soon, and
so excited.
fall. So we're excited. I did try a little bit of this the other night, so I had a taste, and it was pretty good.
I've not tried it, and I was telling them I'm not a total beer fan, so we'll see how this is.
We're trying to pour it like professionals, so we don't get too fun.
I did work as a waitress for a little bit, and I did learn how to pour
You
beer.
should know how to pour a beer.
All right, well.
It smells good.
Yeah.
It smells like fall and Oktoberfest.
What aromas are you getting?
What do you?
Beer.
I was gonna say that's beer.
Well, I mean,
I do get a little bit of the citrus. Like it says, it's supposed to have a little bit of that citrus smell, and I do.
it does have a little citrus.
Yeah.
But I'm getting a lot more malt.
I know this sounds.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but
Sweet.
Blue Moonish. Is that would that be similar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Blue Moon's going to be quite a bit lighter
Lighter.
than that.
will-
Yeah.
But I can see how you would say
Yeah.
you're getting a little Blue Moon. All right. Well, let's take
Chase
a
it.
sip.
Okay.
Cheers, everybody.
cheers!
It's good. What do you think, Sissy?
And that's not bad.
It's not a bad beer.
Definitely has the aftertaste, but
That you don't like?
I don't love it. But I mean, this is not bad. They could be way worse. You know what I mean?
Well, it's very kind of graham cracker. I get a little bit of graham cracker, little bit of citrus on the back.
It is sweeter. Yeah.
And
That's not bad.
it's kind of medium bodied. What's a ABV on this?
We like to hear you describe it because
I know. I'm like, this is so.
I think it's
I want-
5. Is ABV the alcohol content?
Yes.
I think it's supposed to be 5.3 or something like that, but
Okay.
it's 5.5 something percent.
I was going to say this is probably at least a 5
Yeah.
thing because it's a little creamier,
Mm-hmm.
has a medium body to it, kind of graham cracker,
Yeah.
a little bit of citrus.
When you say the graham cracker, I can taste that a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
That's the main flavor
Okay.
of this beer.
Is
That's so
5% a normal, for most alcohol, for most beers?
When you get into craft beers, your ABV is going to be up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Like your American beers that have been around forever.
Yeah.
Weiser, Coors, stuff like that. That's going to be 4 point something
Yeah.
ABV. But of course, those beers are a lot less exciting
Yeah.
compared to a craft beer.
Okay.
So, based on this being a craft beer, your ABV is going to be up just a little bit higher
Yeah.
than your mass-produced American beers, but it's not bad.
I like this. I could definitely drink a few of these.
That's not.
That
That is.
sitting.
That
Yes.
is that's okay for me. Like, to me, like, I'm not trying to be mean.
If this is as good
But
as
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I could drink that. I could sip on that.
Okay, well, yesterday I had a golden ale that was
Okay.
0.6%
Oh my gosh.
ABV, and it burned all the way down.
See, Nash bought Pumpkin King, my husband, yes, who you work with.
Yeah.
Pumpkin, is that what it is? Not Pumpkin King.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. He bought one of those, and it's like 8.6
Was it that
or something.
strong?
And I drank that whole bottle, and you could feel it immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, I never feel like that off of a beer, but yeah. And it was good, a little too sweet, but yeah.
It's a little sweet.
It's too sweet, yeah.
But what I like about Pumpkin is that it has a real pumpkin flavor.
Yeah.
It's not like some beers, it's, pumpkin flavored beer.
Yeah.
It's just allspice. Just a lot of allspice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cinnamon, and then you get a little pumpkin, but it's fake pumpkin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are certain pumpkin beers that I've had that have real pumpkin in them.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of coriander to kind of give it that cinnamon, like when you eat a pumpkin pie, it has a little bit of a cinnamon flavor to it. Well, the coriander helps add that. Or I've seen some that have pumpkin and cinnamon.
Okay, yeah.
But I prefer pumpkin and coriander.
Yeah.
'Cause I do like a little bit of a peppery flavor.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just me. This is a good
This is
beer.
good. Love it.
Enjoy.
Good. Okay.
I enjoy that. So, who is Walker County?
I'm telling you, we're still trying to figure that out. No,
It changes every year.
It does change. No, we, Walker County, we started out playing music with our dad when we were 9 and 12. So we actually, my dad played in a bluegrass band, and I sang at church, and
you started singing when you were 5 years old.
when I was really, really young.
Showed interest at a very young age, yeah.
And so Dad, he was like, hey, let's take a family trip to Nashville. This was 2007. We're originally from a really small town in Indiana of 390 people. So very, very small.
Tiny.
Farming community. We grew up on the family farm. So, but music was always in the household. So Dad was like, let's go down to Nashville and we'll take a family trip. So we went down and Dad was like, just so we can say we did it, let's open the guitar case up on Broadway and street perform. And so we did, and at that time, Broadway was a lot different than it is now in 2007.
A lot different.
A lot different.
There were like abandoned buildings and everything. Yeah.
So it was 4th and Broad. We opened up the guitar case, and it was in front of an abandoned building. If you can believe it. And we sang for about 10 minutes. We sang a few songs that I had sang with Dad in the bluegrass band he was in. And
I just kind of sang along, and then you did something to deserve that. Like, I gave her a nice little kick in the
Something
leg.
kicked me. We got in a fight. Dad closed the guitar case. He's like, okay, we're done. But we made like $10, I think, in like, we sang like 4 songs.
Yeah.
Something like that. And Dad said, girls, like, if you learn an hour's worth of songs, and we'll make another trip to Nashville, and I'll let you keep whatever we make street performing. And so the next month, we had worked up about an hour's worth of songs and opened the guitar case, and we made $200 in like an hour. And Sophie and I were like,
yeah,
we're rich.
yeah. We were like,
as 9 and 12-year-old, we were like, we are making big money. So we did that, and Dad always knew we had an interest in music, so he was like, hey, let's, if this is something you guys enjoy, let's start something up. And so we did. We started playing fairs and festivals and churches and funerals.
Anywhere they
would ask
us.
us. Yeah. And got paid in barbecue sandwiches most of the time.
Yeah, I don't think we made a real paycheck for a while.
For years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is how Walker County started. And so we played music all through middle school and high school. And that was really the beginning of how we got into music, which is crazy. And Dad still plays lead guitar for us. So it's still a family band.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a family band.
It is. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when did you guys decide to move to Nashville?
Yeah.
I think it was like around, I would say it was like 2000. in 2013,
Yeah.
Ivy was graduating high school, and we kind of all had to sit down as a family, and we're like, okay, are we like gonna do music, or like we are really gonna chase this, or are you gonna like go to college or whatever you were wanting? And we were like, we definitely have to do music. Like it just
It
felt,
was all we knew. You know, we had done it
yeah,
for 8 years at the time.
it was a long time. Yeah. And it just felt like that was where the Lord was calling us. And so we worked with a guy in Indy on like a little EP album that we wrote. He was my drum teacher at the time. His name was Ed Goss. And he like produced a little album for us, and he got it in the hands of a mixer here in Nashville, Ben Fowler. And Ben was on the Grammy board with some of the people at Warner. So he gave our album as a favor to them. And they called us. At this point, it was like 2014.
Yeah.
When it got in the
early
hands of them.
2014, yeah.
And then they called us and were like, we want to meet the girls, just come in, play some music and stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because we kind of knew he was handing it around town to people, but we didn't know the extent he was.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting in the hands of like the head A&R over at Warner Music Nashville. And that was when we got the call, and they were like, we want you guys to come play for the president. And we had no idea about Music Row. We had come down, you know, and street performed, and on family vacations, we played at Tootsie's and Rippies throughout the years,
Mostly
you know, on Broadway.
Yeah.
But we had no idea about the industry that Music Row was. And at the time when we were going in to play for the president of Warner, Sophie was 14, 15. Yeah. And I had just turned 18. So we were so young, had very green in the music industry, you know. So we went and played for them for about 2 hours. We sat at the top of Warner and played for the president and the head of A&R. And in 2 hours, they just kept on saying, play another song for us, play another song. And
we went to Ruby Tuesdays to celebrate.
Yeah.
And they ended up calling us and said, we want to offer you a full deal in writing, a publishing deal as well.
Yeah.
And the next day we sat down with the A&R over there at the time, and we were like, well, like,
what does that mean?
And she said, yeah, you probably should move here. So that is when we decided to move to Nashville.
So we moved with a deal, which was crazy and is now is unheard of, really. It's you really move down here and you work Music Row, or you go to Belmont and write and you meet people.
It just wasn't normal at that time, and we didn't realize that because we'd heard stories from like the Judds and like all the.
They were discovered, and it was crazy, and that's kind of what happened.
That's just how it worked.
Yeah,
it did work like that for us. So yeah,
so it was crazy. So we made the move later that year, and Mom and Dad sold everything and packed up to move to Nashville with us. Yeah, it was a crazy time. And because coming from a town of 390 people in Indiana to Nashville, Tennessee, very scary and crazy.
I'm sure that can be shocking.
Yeah.
I can imagine what it would be like for y'all if you did it today. Based on the way this town is growing.
Yeah.
And the music industry is growing. But there's so many other industries in this town that are bringing in people from all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
And the number of buildings going up every single day makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah. It's a different story that today, getting into the music industry, for sure.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure it would have played out a lot different for both of us, too. Like, if it were now, you know. So I think the timing was perfect to get us here.
Yeah, it definitely, but the whole thing of like meeting with the label and signing everything, it got us here. So that's kind of how we moved down, and then we started, immediately once we moved down here, we started writing every day. It was like we went through a boot camp almost that next year of how it is to be an artist in Nashville. And I think within that first year of moving here, we wrote 150 songs in a year.
It was crazy. We were all with different people too.
It was scary. It was kind of scary for us because we were so young, and every day we were in a room with a different person that we'd never met and had to tell them our whole story. And we just got signed. They want us to make a record. We have to write for this record. And then you pour out your heart and write a song. And so it was a crazy first year in Nashville.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the label had you working with other writers.
Yes. Yeah.
Were you writing songs on your own?
We did a little bit,
Yeah.
when we first got to town, but the way we used to write when we lived in Indiana, we would write, it was me, Ivy, and Dad, and it was mostly Dad and Ivy writing. We would literally pull a line out of a basket and be like, okay, we're going to write a song about this. But then moving here, you realize that's not normally how songs are written, sort of in a way, but not like that. So we kind of had to like relearn how to write.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories is the first time we had a big co-write here in Nashville. They had set it up, and it was with Jeremy Spillman, who's this incredible writer, and he's written so many different hits. And so they kind of tell you before you go in, you're like, this is a big write. Like, you could get something really cool out of this. And
We got to bring our best.
got to bring our best. We didn't have a computer, a laptop, an iPad, nothing. The only thing we had was this basket of lyrics that back home in Indiana, any idea we had, we would write down and throw it in this basket. And that's how, like Sophie was saying, we'd pull out a lyric and we'd read it and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's write a song. So we brought that basket with us into the write. And he looked at us like
what in the world? Like, he thought it was awesome. He thought it was great. But like, looking back now, I'm like, that's so...
We were so,
my gosh.
it's just crazy how we thought that's how everybody wrote. And then we quickly learned, we're like, okay, we need to get some iPads, we need to figure this out. But
times a little bit.
Yeah.
We always kept that, in our writing, and like, it's our influences from back home and stuff like that's still in our music. But we just had to learn how the town wrote a little bit. So we did kind of stop writing on by ourselves a lot, especially when you have so many talented people who want to write with you. Like, we want to write with you too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's helpful when you have other ideas coming into, and it gives your music a little bit of variety and like a difference in sound, because it's easy to kind of stick in one lane when it's just you and, constant like back and forth between us too. So.
No, we've made some great connections. The writers here in town are just another level. They're just crazy talented. Yeah. So we definitely have lifelong friends of people who are writers. Yeah.
How long were you with the label?
9 years.
9 years.
We were with them for 9 years, which is crazy. And anytime we tell people that, they're like, and you only put out 5 songs in those 9 years. And that's kind of, where the story of the label goes. We got signed, and then we got put on the back burner. And that happens a lot with younger artists. And I think at the time when we signed, they had a smaller amount of artists on the label.
The roster was really small.
Very small at the time.
When we were signed, and then it felt like the year after we got signed, like they just started signing.
A bunch of people came on.
Which is great. Like, of course everybody wants to be signed, but when you don't have anything super going for you and they're going to have to put a lot of effort behind you to take off, like they're going to go for the people that are already
making money,
or are already like, so you're just like, as a baby act is what they would call us, and probably would still label us that.
Oh yeah, even though we've been doing it for 17 years, we're still considered a baby act in this town. But
be a baby artist, so you would definitely be like put on the back burner.
And that's kind of how that all, started, was we were writing and we were, putting our heart into all this music, but the label had us, shelved. And so we weren't getting any momentum with that. And that's kind of where we stayed for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I want to say about 5 years into being on the label, being signed, we were like, this is crazy. Like, we haven't put out one song since we've been signed.
I think
and
we put out one, but it was like, it was almost just to like appease us, because it was like,
they're like, yeah, we'll put this out.
We loved that song. We believed in it. It was called Time Machines, and we re-released it like two years ago.
Yeah.
But they let us put that out, but they didn't do anything behind it or push it at all
to radio.
But they did let us release that one. But yeah, and then about 5 years in, we were like, okay, so like, why are we here?
We kind of had to sit down with them and was like, are we like gonna do anything? Like, what's happening? And that's when we were able to kind of start, we kind of had to push them into letting us put music out. And we definitely got lost in that world of, we really wanted them to like our music, because if they didn't like our music, they wouldn't put it out. So we started catering
Okay, so
our
what do you
sound
hear from us?
and
you know?
our music to the label and what
It's
they
super
want.
easy to do when you're like trying to get something out.
And
As young girls do.
we definitely fell into that trap of, well, they really like this and they don't really like this, so maybe if we do this, they'll let us put a song out. And that's kind of where we started, losing ourselves within the label. And that was a kind of a crazy time. We felt like we were putting out music that we loved, but when we look back on it, we were really just like putting out anything we could that they would let us put out, because we had been sat on for so long. But yeah, if that makes sense.
Well, after leaving the label,
Mm-hmm.
have you rediscovered your love for music?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That was like our biggest thing too is, so we, ever since we moved to town, one of our very first writes was with Paul Sykes. He's an amazing writer. He's written a lot for Lainey Wilson and, Matt Sell, right?
Mhm.
And, just so good. He's so talented. And that was like one of the first writes we ever had with someone where we like just genuinely clicked. His sound was like what we loved, and it just felt like this was like our person in town.
Yeah.
Our collaborator. And so we started writing with Paul a lot throughout the years, and 9 years went by, and we would write here and there, but they never released any of the music we wrote with him. I don't know why. They probably knew we loved it and was just like, no.
It felt that way. It felt like,
That's how it
they
felt.
like this, we're not going to put it out.
So we met up with him. I think it was
Towards the end of our time at the
yeah,
label.
and he was like, girls, like, I will produce your album. We will release every one of the songs we've loved over the years. And he was like, and you can leave the label.
He's
and we were
we
like,
don't need the label to do this.
that's all we needed to hear.
Let's do this independently.
Yeah. And we were like, okay. Because it was just at that point, it was like, what are they doing? And the industry had changed so much with like TikTok and things like that. It was just like, what, like they're pretty much telling us just make TikToks to do their job for them. And it's like, well, okay, why are we with you then?
Yeah.
If you're just going to have us do all the work anyway.
So we made the decision to leave and start working on the Painted Ponies record, which that is where we rediscovered our sound, why we moved to Nashville in the first place. Making that record with Paul was just like this. It was fun again.
Yeah,
it was music
so
that we had
fun.
always loved. We got to really, put our bluegrass. We started out in bluegrass, so we got to really put that bluegrass like twang on stuff.
Yeah.
And it literally, like, to this day, I'm so proud of that record and what we did on that.
Favorite things we've ever done.
Yeah, and honestly, putting Painted Ponies together was a really healing moment, I think, for Sophie and I, because we'd been stuck in that label for so long and stuck in the way that they did things. We were able to leave and then throw ourselves into this independent, this record, and just be whoever we wanted to be, look however we wanted to look, sound however we wanted to sound. It was great. And so that was honestly a very healing year for us, with putting out Painted Ponies.
Okay. That answers one of my questions a little bit further down the line. I like to ask indie artists if their music heals them.
Oh, for sure.
Because a lot of people outside of the industry wouldn't know that the music artists are putting out is the way they really feel.
Totally.
And if you don't listen to the song, I mean, you hear it, but you don't listen to it.
Yeah.
You're not really hearing what the artist is trying to say.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's funny, actually, because at that time when we had left right at the end there, we were so discouraged and we were so jaded, and we felt like we didn't want to go into rights. We wanted to do nothing with the music industry. We just were so, like, it made us, like Sophie and I always say, like, we kind of got sick to our stomachs having to think about, like, going to a meeting or doing, it just, like, the excitement was completely gone from us. And so when we put together Painted Ponies and really threw ourselves into it and made this record and started doing, like, media for it and doing interviews for the record, people all around, all the interviews were like, this record speaks like to you guys leaving the record, there's like a song called The Thing About Fences, and there's a song called Painted Ponies, and it's all about chasing your dreams and not being confined and breaking free. And we honestly didn't even that didn't even click to us when we were
Some of
making
those songs we wrote a while ago, but it like definitely pertained to our situation for sure. It was,
and we were like, oh,
so
wait a minute. This is all about us breaking free and leaving the label. And it just, then it clicked. It was like, we were unintentionally, but intentionally saying our story right there. And it was a cool moment for Sophie and I to be like, oh yeah, we were like talking about it.
In that song, it literally sounds like you wrote it about your experience with the label.
Yeah.
I mean, it from start to finish,
Mhm.
that's exactly, it's telling a story.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about music.
Mm-hmm.
All styles of music is the ones that tell a story.
Yeah.
I love stories.
Same.
And that's why I love to talk to indie artists,
Mhm.
because their songs tell stories. Their songs speak with emotion.
Yeah.
It may be a sad song, but it has a rocking guitar in it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Listen to it. You can see what emotion the artist is trying to put out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So talk about leaving the label.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was scary for us. I think because if this makes sense, like having the label was almost this like safety net, because we could always say like, well, this isn't taken off like we thought, but at least we're signed. Or this didn't go over like it, but at least we're on
kind of like
this big label. Like it was kind of like
like a false promise that something might one day like go
take off
with it. You know what I mean? And so it was kind of hard to be like, okay, we're gonna
let that go and just do this on our own.
Be separate from that. So it was scary. At the time we had really good management too, which did help. Like it didn't feel like we were totally alone, you know. And then we end up
parting ways with that.
Parting ways with that. But,
yes.
At the time that was a little bit of like, okay, like we're not like completely just like out here floating. But it was scary. It was scary.
It was. And I think when we made that decision, it was a really easy decision, but it was still like this nerve-wracking thing of like, okay, and we didn't know how they were going to take it, like us asking to back out of the deal. But they took it pretty well. They were very surprised that we wanted out, which always surprises me, because I'm like, how were you surprised? How are you that surprised? Yeah. But I think there was a lot of signs there that we weren't happy. But I think they were very surprised. But they honestly, it ended the best it could have. Mm-hmm. They ended up at the beginning of the year, we had put out an EP, and we had kind of done that on our own, and then kind of basically told the label like, we're gonna put this out whether you guys like it or not, and they were like, okay, like we'll kind of put some promotion behind it, but you know, none of the songs were gonna take to radio. And then after that we were like, okay, we want out of this deal. They don't care about what our passion projects are. And they ended up giving us the rights to that, which was awesome, because I think a lot of times when artists say they want to leave the label, it ends badly. They don't get a lot, or they don't get the rights to their music, but they ended up giving us the rights to that EP, which was a very good, nice thing to do. So we were very happy with that, because that record was very special to us as well. So we were glad that it ended amicably. Yeah. I think, as good as it could have.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I've known other artists that have left smaller labels, and it did not go well.
Oh.
At all.
For sure. And we heard the horror stories of like how this could end. And but I think us being on there for so long, and that season of life, like I always like it happened for a reason, but I think they knew that they weren't in it as 100% as we were either. So I think when we said like, let's part ways, I think they were
They
like,
knew,
oh,
like,
like it's time. They've been here for 9 years.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't like were like 1 year in and wanted out of the deal. We'd served our time. We'd served our time there.
Yeah.
So, it honestly, it was scary for us just to not have that comfort zone area that we could be like, oh, the label, but it really ended good. So
and nothing changed. Like, like,
yeah, we were already doing it
because we were
anyway.
already doing it on our own. We just kept doing it on our own, so it wasn't like a big difference in like how our day-to-day life went. Like, it was just, yeah.
So y'all had a manager outside of the label.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's funny, all the components that, like, an artist has when they're on a label. Like, you have your label, and then most likely you have management, and then you have your agents. So they take care of your shows, your calendar, your stuff, the stuff you're involved in. And then you also have your, like, your financial aid, your financial side. So there's a lot of different parts that go into it. And, and your publishing. So we have, you have all of these people that are, and we honestly had a solid circle for a long time, but we have completely stepped away from it all, and we are 100% independent now, and it feels really nice. It feels great. It's literally like a weight lifted off our shoulders.
Well, stepping away from that circle, is it easy for you to book shows, to do all the things that someone else was?
Yeah.
Is it easy for you to do that, or do you dread having to book a show, book a studio, book musicians, things like that, things the label took care of that now you have to do on your own?
I would say as far as the agency part, it is hard to get shows without one, at least for us. And we have a certain level of show we put on. So that also requires a certain amount of production. And so that like makes the cost higher. So it is harder, but we do have people reach out and book us, which is great. So that's a plus.
And that's the important part of making connections. Even while you have agents, as artists, you should always be, talking to people, making sure you perform well, making sure that you're nice to people at venues, because those are the people that, even if you have an agent or not, they're going to say, how do I book Walker County again? And so that's an important thing to do. So we do have people reach out, and our dad has always been a super big part of it. He plays lead guitar, and before we ever got signed or had agents, Dad and Mom did everything. So they knew, they kind of know, they already know, the game that you have to play and who to reach out to and certain things. So Dad is great. He was our tour manager when we were signed. So he ran everything.
We consider him still our tour manager. He handles all of it so well, and he's just a great guy. People like him.
But it is definitely harder to do everything independently. And I think Sophie and I definitely had to learn that when you are just you two, you have to really, we had to kind of relearn how to do things, and remember what it was like to do things without, anybody else involved. And, it is more difficult, but it can be done.
And it's more rewarding when when you've accomplished it.
That's true.
We did that.
Are you glad you went through the ups and downs of a label at such a young age, that you learned, and now that you're an indie artist, you can take your experiences that you learned at the label and put them to work for you, I guess, in the real world?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, it definitely made us grow up quick. And I do think, I was just talking today about this with my friend. I was like, I'm really glad we didn't take off when we first got signed, and
when we wanted to take
when
off.
We were like really wanting, like, oh, why isn't anything happening? Like, I'm honestly so happy it didn't happen, because I can see how, like, even just someone at a young age, like, just gets so swept up in that and lost in that. And that was a good thing about, like, having our parents and having each other, like, we kept each other grounded and all of that. And I just think that if we hadn't went through it, like we wouldn't have known how tough it is and how hard it is, and we wouldn't appreciate the freedom we have as independent artists now if we hadn't been through that.
I think a lot of people would look at our situation and now and be like, well, you don't have this now and you're not playing this big of shows anymore and you're not doing this. But to us, it's like, this is exactly where we want to be, because the other side of the coin, we'll want to never go back to that. Like the ups and downs of that, it was definitely a season of growing. And like Sophie said, we do appreciate where we're at so much more now because of that. So, yeah.
Do you know any signed artists that wish they could go back to being indie?
I think a lot of artists say, like, even just as they say, like, these are the good old days, guys, like, you know. And I think that is, like, unless you are a super established independent artist where you can negotiate a good deal for yourself on a label, you're honestly better off just being independent, because if you can't have any control over what you're doing anyway, what's the point? You know?
I think you definitely see that. And there's some artists that, like I'll throw out even like the Zach Bryans and the Cody Johnsons and stuff, who they were so big independently and they created their own like label that they were able to make deals with the big labels how they wanted the deals to go. We were so young and so nobody knew us at the time, so the deal that they handed us, we made a few, I think
they were in
there was a few amendments, but they were in control.
Yeah.
We had no say of, you know, any of it. And so like Sophie was saying, I definitely feel like if you're an indie artist and your main goal is to get signed, nowadays it's better to create your fan base first. Create that buzz, create that popularity, the fan base on your own, and then you have some negotiable, leverage when you go into a room with a label. Because now, and I'm not bashing on labels at all. Like, I feel like artists, like, they're there for a reason, but nowadays a lot of labels, like, they want you to have so many followers on TikTok, and if you don't and they sign you, they're only going to tell you, and we got this over and over again, just keep posting, just keep posting on TikTok.
Off, then maybe we'll do it. But they're like expecting like millions of numbers, like an actual viral video, which is hard to get. And we had a song just recently, you know, it was like we got
500,000, I think, views on it.
On a TikTok. Like, to me, that's viral. Like, that's great.
But not
million people saw that. And it's never enough.
Those numbers they want nothing to them.
They want a Dasha song, you know, that kind of viral moment. And that's hard to get. That happens.
It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah, that's it. It literally is.
And but that's what they'll tell you. And we heard that from, you know, once TikTok took off and became the way people broke music, that was the only thing we heard from our label was, if it goes big on TikTok, then we'll put it out. If it has a viral moment on TikTok, then maybe we'll think about it. And Sophie and I were like, well, we can do this on our own. We could do I mean, if that's what they're going to tell us,
people are going to know about it.
Like, right. What are we doing here? You know? So yeah, it's a different world in the music business right now than it was when we signed. Yeah.
Well, leaving the label, excuse me, allergies. They're kicking my butt today. Leaving the label, do you think once you left that the label kind of blackballed you from certain things?
No, honestly.
We wouldn't know. Yeah. Like, I don't think I mean, there's nothing that I think they could have done that to other than maybe our album. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like,
you'll never know. Yeah, you'll never know.
I pray protection over us every day. And you know what? I don't know.
Yeah, we just kind of had to give that to God when we put out music or when we, you know, do anything. I will say there's a lot of companies now who help independent artists who, which has been really cool. Like, we worked with Command Shift on our last release, and they are a company that basically they sit down with like an independent artist like us and say, okay, you want to put this album out. Here's like a game plan to give it the most success. And and they also have, they know people at Spotify, they know people at iTunes, and they help with playlisting and just the distribution side of things, which has been so cool to see companies like that help independent artists.
Yeah.
They see the need for it because there's so many independent artists in town. And so that was like an awesome thing to see. So we did work with them on the distribution side this last go around, and they're great. And we're thankful that there's companies like that in town to help out.
Do you think a label would work better for someone who is only a singer or only a musician because they're not writing songs that the label can turn on and say basically, that song's okay, but we'll think about it.
Yeah.
Or an artist that writes that song, when you present that song, that's part of yourself.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
You're having someone tell you, I don't think so. But
Yeah.
musician, someone that only plays the drums.
Mm-hmm.
And they're signed with the label. They're given sheet music and said, here, play this. And they're happy to do so.
Yeah. I think, of course, it is hard when you are a writer. Like you said, like you pour your heart into those songs. So when someone says no to that song, you take it personally. So I could definitely see how somebody who doesn't write and just sings and performs, it would be easier because they'd be able to just like sit down. Like we did it. We cut outside songs. We did it. They weren't like what we were turning in, and they started sending us like, so and so wrote this, what do you think about this? And we ended up cutting a few of them.
It was easier to agree on them,
Yes,
they were great songs, and
they were great songs, but they weren't our songs. So I do see how it would probably be easier for somebody who doesn't write. Your feelings would get less hurt, that's for sure. Your feelings wouldn't get so hurt if you didn't write the songs, because it is as people who create the music that they want to put out. I mean, you put your heart into it, and those songs are personal experiences. They're a labor of love. And so when they are turned down, you definitely, you get your feelings hurt for sure. Yeah.
Do you think the business side of music business hinders creativity?
For sure. Yeah.
So, yeah. Especially just kind of like how, I experienced it all. It was just like, at some point you broke us down so much where we're like, okay, what do you want us to write? What do you want us to say? What do you want it to sound like? Do you want it to be poppy? Do you want it to be more country?
And then our creativity is gone.
And then at that
because
point, it's
we're
like,
just
okay, we're just like, we would go in a room and be like, okay, we're trying to write something more like up-tempo and poppy. Like, let's do that. So we would try and write for that, which are obviously it's like still stuff we wrote, but it's not like where our like initial like hearts want to go with the music,
So yeah, I think labels, like in our experience on a label, they'll not necessarily like tell you like, we want you to be like this, but in a roundabout way,
this is working really well right now.
Yeah, so-and-so is doing really well with this. So-and-so, this song, we're putting it out. And so you as artists go, okay, I guess that's what they want. That's what they want. So you start, the stuff you are good at writing or want to write, you put that on the back burner and you start writing just like, okay, like Sophie said, let's try something pop. Let's do this. And it's funny when you listen to the songs we wrote really early on compared to the songs we wrote.
Totally different.
I mean, completely different.
We used to write songs about writing letters to men in prison.
Like these old country songs right at the beginning.
And we have
like that,
on like pop hits, and in our catalog. It's just
6 years down the road, it's like these techno beats and 808 drums, and you're like, wait a minute, where did that all change?
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting when we did leave the label and start putting together Painted Ponies and started listening to the songs we wrote. when we first moved to Nashville, we were like, oh my gosh, these songs are so good. Like, this is who we are and why we moved and why we were signed. They wanted that at first. They wanted that when they heard that, they were like, we got to sign these girls. And so it was just interesting to see how they don't necessarily change you in a way, but they do in a roundabout way. Right. Yeah.
Do you think social media and music videos are crucial to an indie artist's success?
Unfortunately, yes.
I wish I'm just being totally honest. I wish TikTok never existed. Me and Ivy personally are performers. We love to go play live. We love to meet people. We love a show. Yep. And that's where I feel like we gained a lot of our fans over the years. It's like, when you see us live, it just is like, okay, I get it. And I think reducing yourself down to like a 30-second like crazy clip on TikTok is a little bit disheartening sometimes. And
it doesn't come natural to us, but we have to do it.
You have to do it. And that's just how people are finding music these days. It's like I said, like if anyone wants to do anything with you, you have to have a viral moment. Even booking shows now, like they're going to book someone that is viral on TikTok over somebody that's doesn't make TikToks. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be like, well, they have an audience built in. They're probably going to bring more people.
They're going to sell
more of a guarantee now if you see the numbers in front of you. So
it's funny because when we started playing music, Facebook was it. Like Instagram had just kind of started. This was like it was 2007. So we promoted our shows on like Facebook and everything, but basically it was word of mouth. Everything was just like, we're going to see.
It was like the good old days.
The girls play, you know.
You create your fans organically because you're out playing.
So social media does not come natural to us as artists. Because when we started, you didn't do it. You didn't make videos and try to sell yourself basically to these people swiping on TikTok.
But over the years, you know, I grew up in a generation. I have my first like smartphone was in like middle school, I think. So I did start, like I was a kind of the demographic for it. But as I got older, like we did start like kind of making like YouTube videos and stuff, which was fun.
She's great at it. I let her do all of that. I had no interest, or I was just terrible at it, but she just naturally.
So we do it, but it is hard sometimes. We just like, man, I just wish I could go play a concert and gain these fans just naturally. But you gotta be able to roll with the times, and if you can't, then that's just all part of it. You know?
We have talks with artists all the time about this, and I mean, even people who aren't in music who are starting like doing hair, photography, everything. You have to do social media now, and it's so like all of the artists that we're friends with and the writers like who we talk to about it, they're just like, oh, I hate it. I hate sitting down and making a TikTok. I'm so like, oh, it just takes it just takes the soul out of everything.
The mystery out of things too. I feel like, I don't know. I always love like artists like, oh man, like they're so cool. Like I don't know everything about them.
But anybody you sit down with, anybody you sit down with, even if you are wanting to stay independent, even if it's just like somebody booking for a coffee shop or anything, they're going to be like, so how are you on TikTok? How, what's your followers? They look at that stuff, which, so it's a love-hate relationship for us and social
media. I think it is like, you have to be able to.
But I don't think we're alone in that, so.
You talked about booking venues. Mm-hmm. Have y'all played any of the small venues in Nashville?
Oh, yeah. We've done, the Bluebird Cafe, the Listening Room. We play at Chiefs on Broadway. We played the, not the bar, but what is it called? The Neon Steeple. It's the ticketed venue up there, which is really cool. We've played the game in Nashville, which you kind of have to as independent artists. It was funny because when we became independent, people were like, well, are you okay with playing smaller venues? Like, are you okay with that? And we're like, this is how we started. Like, we started playing those kind of venues. I mean, for the first 5 years we started playing music, I think we played for 10 people and our grandparents. It was like, that was it. So we're no stranger to the gigs where you don't even know if anybody's listening to you. But we definitely like to we've played, a lot of writers rounds around town. We love all that stuff. We're so down when people ask us to play writers rounds and stuff. Yeah.
What genre of music do you guys play now that you're indie artists?
I would call it like country, but we do lean more traditional.
Yeah,
with our
it's
sound.
definitely more traditional country.
We've always, like, since I am the drummer, we try and keep things rocked up and fun. So I have a little bit of a rock side to us, but with Painted Ponies and stuff, we definitely were like, we're gonna lean like back to our roots, like traditional.
I think like when you hear 20%, you definitely hear the influences of the bluegrass that we grew up playing, and then when you hear songs like Double Wide World, it's got more of like that rocked up kind of like angsty sound that we love, and is definitely like a big thing with the drummer. But then you hear handwritten and like songs like Two Birds that are just pure like country, like those like heartbreaking George Jones songs, like that kind of stuff. That we grew up singing. So, yeah.
How often do y'all perform?
Not as much as we want to.
No. We, starting out, we played every single weekend of our life. We played all the time. And then really and truly up until like the last 2 years, we were doing that. We were playing a lot. Now it's every other month, here or there.
Yeah, but we still keep pretty busy. We focused a lot, like the year before last, we were making the record, and so a lot of that summer was taken up with making the record, spending all of our energy into writing and doing that, and now we're trying to figure out. You just have to learn how to navigate differently as independent artists, and try to figure out, okay, like when you're an artist, you also have to make money somehow and live, and and have a life, and so you do other things outside of music, and you throw yourself into all kinds of different things, but you still try to keep music as the focus. And
I think just learning how to like not have an agency booking you shows all the time. Almost the whole time we were here, we had an agent in town, so we were getting shows booked for us pretty much. Even though it wasn't easy all the time to get books or shows booked, we were getting them, and so like kind of learning how to work without one is hard.
It's different.
And,
yeah
we're hoping we do find another agent soon, but for the time being, we just play whatever's offered for us.
We've always talked about that. As an independent artist, an agent to me is more important than management or a label, because an agent is going to keep you working. It's going to keep the money coming so that you can fund your next album or fund your next project. So an agent is super important. I feel like they're going to make your life a lot easier as an independent artist.
What do you guys want from your music now that you're an indie artist?
I think our vision of what success is has changed so much over the years. When we started playing music as a family, the reason we did it is because we loved playing music as a family, and we had fun, and we were good at it. We had fun. We loved to travel. We loved being with our dad and our mom on the road. We just lived for that. And then when you got signed, you were like, well, we're going to be the next Miranda Lambert or Taylor Swift or whatever. You're young, you just got signed, you have these big dreams, and you think that your music's going to explode one day and it's just going to all change for you. And then when we finally got to the point where we realized, we were like, there's no love in that anymore. There's no we just were so discouraged, and so we were like, why did we start this in the first place? And that was to play music as a family and put music out that we loved. And so that's all we hope for this next season in our life, is to get to still play music together as a family, get to write together, keep the passion, and hold tight to the reason we started. And so if our songs get 5,000 streams and that's as much as they get, but we put it out and we loved it and we get to play that for people, that's okay. We just want our music to touch people and bring people in. And I think like this last release we did, Mama and Daddy's Dream, the reason it did so well on social media is because it came from the heart and it came from true life experience.
I think a lot of people like resonated with it too, even though it was like clearly our story. I think people were able to put themselves in that. But
all we can ask for is just people enjoy what we put out. And whether that's 5,000 or 100,000 or 1,000,000 people,
we'll take it, whatever.
What does music mean to you?
Yeah.
I think that music is just a way to express how you're feeling. I know that just like not even from an artist side, just as a listener, like I will never like get in the car and not put music on. Like I will always put a song on and it will affect my mood like totally. And I will, if I want to be sad,
Catholic though, so
I'm going to put on a sad song.
Crazy.
If I'm feeling happy, I'm going to put on a hyped up song. If I'm going to the gym, I'm going to put on something. And I think that there's just like something very spiritual with music. And I think that it just speaks to us. And there's a lot of people that, like we were saying, find healing in music and find comfort in music. I know like if I'm down and out, like I'll put on some worship music and I'm on top of the world in a song, you know? And I just think only music can do that. That's something that's so just I feel like as an artist, as a listener, like you just don't find that with anything else. I think it's so important. It's just, I don't know. I'm just rambling now, but
no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, you said your music heals you. Does your music heal others?
We hope so. Yes, we sure hope so. It's fun because we've traveled all over this country and played for some really awesome crowds and meeting people who have followed us for years and who discover us at a show and hear a song that just like, oh my gosh, like I love this song. We put out a song called Mirror Mirror a few years back and we wrote it because I was really struggling with self-image and just really being tough on myself. And we went into a writer's room with two amazing writers, Jen Schott and Autumn McIntyre, and we wrote this song in 45 minutes. It just like spilled out of us. It needed to be written. And the first time we ever got to perform it, we were opening up for Winona Judd and we were like, we have this new song, we're going to play it. And Sophie came up from behind the drums and we stood on one microphone and sang it. And got a standing ovation after, and the amount of people
like the middle of the show
for an opening act, like yeah.
That to me, like moments like that is like this is the reason we're doing this. Like
yes.
This is the reason, and also like just knowing like they felt something from like what we wrote. It's just so neat. Like it's so cool. Like you can't make that up. Like that is so awesome. And I've had girls tell us Drag It Out. They're like, I play that
song
every day after we broke up. Me and my boyfriend broke up or whatever. It's just like little things like that. It's like, that is so cool to me. Like I do that with songs all the time. Like that song like got me through this or whatever. And
so we definitely hope our music, it heals people, it touches people's hearts. And we've got to see that throughout the years of playing too, which has been really cool.
Do you write only from personal experiences or experiences of other people or a combination?
Definitely a mix. Yeah.
I think starting out too, we were so young. I was 16 when we really started writing in town, and we
didn't have a lot of
I didn't have nothing at the time. We had been playing music our whole lives. We didn't have relationships. We didn't have nothing. Like we were just like music.
We wrote songs about drinking beer and getting drunk and had no idea. We had never
drank. And we wrote they're good songs too.
Yeah. And so you definitely, I think when you're a songwriter, you're a creative and you like stories as well. So there's certain songs that like like Two Birds on Our Record, Painted Ponies is about a couple getting a divorce. We've never been through a divorce. Our parents are still married.
When we wrote that, we were 16. I was like 17 years old.
Young.
Never had a boyfriend, like, so it's like.
So you definitely just like, you go, oh, that's such a cool idea.
And I will say, I think that's a certain kind of talent if you can write and convince someone of a song that you've never lived through. I think that's so cool. And I think that's like something all songwriters have to kind of possess a little bit.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years in music?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I honestly, I've just being here for this long, and you kind of never know exactly where the road is going to lead you. And, our firm believers in the Lord leading us to where we need to go, and giving us the right path, and just praying on what to do next and the next steps. And so it's kind of hard to be like where we'll be in music the next 5 years.
I think music will always be in our everyday life. I think Sophie and I can't see ourselves ever not doing music, and especially together. We love doing it as sisters, and getting to make music together and write. I think we hope that you always hope that something takes off, and that you're able to make a living off of music, and travel, and get to play your music for a lot of people. So you just always hope for that, but you never know in the next 5 years what happened. Yeah.
But yeah, I think if we're talking about hoping, I think it would be to be traveling and just being able to have our family on the road and just play for people every night would be awesome.
Do you work on music daily?
Yeah.
I think that also, like, if it's not sitting down and playing a song together or anything, it's posting on social media or planning something for the next day ahead. But we try
always
to do something every day.
Yeah. We, as writers and being Walker County is us. So like everything we do, we're constantly thinking about, well, we could do that for the band, or let's sit down and work on this, or some so-and-so commented they want to hear us sing this, so let's sit down and do that. It could be, or we're going to a write. We have a write coming up. Let's think of what we want to write. So we're constantly thinking about Walker County.
So y'all still write music with other writers?
Yes. Yeah. We still do co-writes, and
the majority of them are with our producer, Paul Sykes. It's just we have such a good flow now. Yeah. And he is producing us. So it's nice to go in a room and just like write a song with him. It's hard to write a bad song with him. Like we
definitely call him a co-creator of a lot of our stuff. He's just somebody we've connected with so strongly with, and we almost can read each other's minds in a writing room. It's just, and everything that we write comes out really cool. So a lot of it is we write with him. We have a write coming up in a week or so. I think it's like a week and a half. So we'll figure out what comes out of that one.
Do you feel that Nashville has changed for the better or for worse since you've been here?
It's hard. It's hard to answer that, because I do, like, we were kind of bad mouthing TikTok and stuff, but the good thing about stuff like that is you're able, as independent artists, to now create your own buzz and following and reach people, which
that is nice to have.
That is nice to have, where you don't need Music Row to be a big artist.
I think as artists, though, who, we appreciate the old ways of music, and, going to concerts and finding new artists like that, and traveling, and, I don't know. I just feel like we just went and saw the Dolly Parton musical. And it's just so different from how it was. And it's kind of sad. Like, it's a lost art of like being an artist, moving to town, like grinding and writing and getting in the right rooms. 'Cause we did all that. And it's almost like a viral video that erases all the hard work of like years and years of grinding and constant writing, and
that's been difficult for sure.
Yeah. So I think that that's kind of something sad that I feel like it is kind of missing in town now. But like Ivy said, there are perks to, social media and stuff, but it is kind of like a lost art that's gonna,
Yeah,
it's not
it is.
something you do anymore.
Mm-mm.
But
So, what is the writing process for you guys?
Yeah.
As far as music,
It's different almost every time we get in a room. Sometimes we'll get in a room and like I'll have like a lyric or a song, a title that I'm like, oh, this is a great title. Sophie will have an idea, and you kind of like almost just start throwing ideas around. Especially like we'll be like, okay, what about this? Or this is an idea I had. So it's different every time. We definitely always start with, I think, lyrics and idea first. Then the music starts coming into play, because once you have the lyric or the idea, you can kind of go, this needs to sound like this or this.
yeah.
So I feel like the cool thing about writing with a producer and someone like Paul is he's so talented in that world of creating the music and the sound behind things, that like we can start thinking of an idea and he's over on the computer like, oh, this would sound so good with this, and like we need to add this kind of like beat behind it. And so, but it's honestly, it can happen 1,000 different ways. We've been in a room before with writers who they have a sound and they play it and they're like, what could we write over this? And we're like, okay. And then we got to kind of think of something. So it honestly depends on who you're writing with, but I think for the most part for us, we go in with lyrics and a title or a title. Yeah.
how long does it take for one of your songs to go from concept to finished product?
I know with Paul, like a couple hours, like it doesn't take long at all.
Really?
Yeah, we'll sit and write, and honestly, half the time we're just joking around and not
I know.
focus.
There's a lot of time where we're just goofing around,
does
or we're
take
talking
off.
about lunch. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, where do you guys want to get lunch? We usually, like, how it always works in Nashville is you either start your write at, most of the time it's 11. The write start at 11. Every once in a while you'll get an early bird and it's 10 a.m. But most of the time it's 11, and you go in there and you get a verse and a chorus done, and then you go, you guys want to go get lunch? And you'll go get lunch, you'll come back and finish the song. Or we like to knock it all out and then go get lunch after. Because after lunch, you want to go home and take a nap or something. So we'll honestly, like 3 hours to get a good rough demo of like to have the concept to a rough demo.
Yeah.
It's about 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys ever get writer's block?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
How do you deal with it?
Oh,
I think having
yeah.
writers is the perk of that. Is if you
That
come
is.
in with no idea and you're like, I have nothing for you today. Usually they pick up the slack for you, which is really nice. But it is nice that there's two of us, especially like for just like our Walker County.
So if I go like, I have
people
no ideas today. So if you be like,
Yeah.
I actually do have an
I
idea.
got a couple.
Or
So we kind of balance it
Yeah.
out. So I don't think we've ever went through writer's block together at the same time.
which is good.
Each one of us is always thinking of something.
I mean,
but-
we've even had sometimes where we get in a room and we're like, we have no idea what we're writing. And we'll just start talking about what's kind of going on in each other's lives. And someone will go, oh my gosh, that would be such a good song. That's a good song idea right there.
Yeah.
You even just saying something in conversation, that's happened. But
Mhm.
definitely have dealt with writer's block and not wanting to write. I think that's been another thing we've gone through where we've been like, oh, we're so
Burnt out.
mentally burnt out on writing right now that I can't even think about getting in a room with someone. So we definitely you go through ups and downs on that creative journey. Yeah.
What are the top 5 presets on your car radio?
Oh gosh.
That's a good one. Honestly, I always plug my phone in and put Spotify on.
Yes.
So
We do our like songs. What has been our like top song?
I have been loving Youngblood right now. I always listen to Youngblood.
Sophie's the little rocker over here. She's always loved rock and rock music. So
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a drum.
Yeah,
yeah.
It just speaks to me.
she just
Sorry.
went and saw Youngblood in concert.
I did. It was
so
awesome.
That was fun. Yeah.
I have him. I've been listening to Sabrina Carpenter. I listen to a lot of pop music. I really
Yeah.
do. There's a few like indie artists that I like, but yeah.
I'm trying to think of who I've been listening to a ton of. I've got Alison Krauss on my top
Krauss
one.
is
I've been
always-
listening to a lot. The new Sabrina Carpenter album, I like her. I think she's fun and her lyrics are really creative. And funny, which is like kind of fresh to the ears. You know, it's not all
Yeah.
serious. But we listen to so many different types of music. I love some Olmarin, like
We like our
Miranda
genre.
Lambert.
We like any kind of genre.
We do.
Really. There's no limits there.
I'm a huge Celine Dion fan, which people think is kind of crazy, but because I'm sing country, but I love female vocalists. I love listening to beautiful singers. So I listen to a ton of Celine Dion. Yeah.
Why should I listen to your music?
Because you should. No.
What?
Really?
What?
Yes.
What should I feel when I listen to your music?
Yeah.
I think it's definitely that like nostalgia feeling that you get from like listening to bands like the Chicks, like that, you know, that just good country music that, which I'm excited because I feel like country is starting to take a turn more back to that more traditional sound. It's definitely more of that like nostalgia country feel, but we like to write stuff that is from the heart and stuff that will break your heart when you hear it. You know, certain songs that just like, oh, that makes me sad.
Tugs on your heartstrings.
Yes.
We definitely write a lot about our family and like our
home.
life experiences. And, you know, we've been doing this for a long time, and we've poured a lot of our lives into like being Walker County and writing for Walker County. So if anything, like there's a lot of love put into it. So,
and I think you'll hear that in the music for sure. Especially the new music that we've gotten to put out that we've wanted to put out. I think you hear the difference, the heart in it now. Yeah.
Who's out there listening to your music? Who are your fans?
we have a mix of fans.
We
I think
do.
we have a lot of younger girls that like us. I know our sweet little cousin Clara back home. She's got us a fan base back there.
I always think
all
about her
friends.
demographic. She's about 18. She just turned 18. So I always think like there's a lot of girls that age that have been listening to us, which is cool. But then we have like older fans.
Yeah, we've had a lot of older people. Honestly, we always said like ever since we started, we're a family's family band. So we try and include all age groups into like our fan base. We don't want to like do anything that would maybe make anyone feel like they couldn't listen to us, you know. So
it is cool too. We also have a lot of really young girls who love watching Sophie play the drums, which that's been really neat to see a female drummer that you don't see that a lot in country music, and somebody being up front. We always, when we play live, the drums are right up front and then I stand next to him. So it's me and Sophie, and the amount of like little girls who just are like, like so taken aback by a drummer and her big bleach blonde hair flying around, and she'll drum in her high heels, and they're just like, what is going on? And we've had so many people afterwards be like, she's asking for a drum set for Christmas or her birthday. She wants a drum set. So that's been a really cool thing. I think watching us live, there's a lot of really young girls who see that and go, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
How many unfinished songs do y'all have?
Not a ton. It's funny when we go into a room to write, we like to finish it. I do not like leaving a room with an unfinished song.
I think every once in a while, people have been like, "All right, we'll just like finish this later." It has
probably
to
like
be
a
like
handful,
like 20, maybe. That might be a lot.
I think that's a lot. I was gonna say like five times that's happened. Maybe. Now
that we're like grown up writing, I feel like we don't ever not finish a song really. But when we were younger, I think sometimes it was a little tougher for us.
When you're so young in a room and the writers are like, sometimes we would like as 16 and an 18-year-old, we'd be writing with like a 60-year-old guy, like I have nothing in common, and
so it was hard to like.
It would just not go anywhere. You could just feel like this song is
being forced.
This is not going to go anywhere.
Right.
And sometimes we would just be like, and we'd just be like, say that. Yeah, say that. That's good. And we just finish it to finish it and just get out of the room and be like, okay, we're done for the day. That was a no-go. And there's been many songs where we've been like, we will never listen to that song. Like, we will never sing that song, hear it. And it goes in the garbage. But
I feel like now, like,
we're more intentional.
We'll either say like, this isn't something we're going to really sing. Or we'll be like, we'll finish this another day.
But I think as young artists, we were a little timid to say that, like, this isn't something we would like, like when you're young girls in this room, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. But now we're definitely more intentional, and we're, as you get older, you're like, okay, this is not for us. Let's do something different, so.
Would you guys call yourselves introverts or extroverts?
For a long, long time, I thought I was an introvert, and then
you came out of your shell in the
came out of my shell a lot. It's funny. It was a very late blooming there, because I just was like, oh wait, I really love talking.
There were times in the early days where I did a whole interview and Sophie said 2 words, very. What don't you think?
Yes, yeah. Ivy also interrupts me a lot, so that
Well, we're sisters. We're constantly interrupting each other.
But no, I think Ivy has been more of the introvert lately, just because she's more of a homebody, I would say.
Yeah, I know.
I like to have friends. I like to go out and stuff. So that's where we're different a little bit, but we balance
I
each
think
other.
talking wise, we're both very extroverted. So. Yeah, we're not afraid to tell people about ourselves.
As you can see.
Well, what do you want your fans to know about you?
That we love our fans, that we absolutely love the support that they show, and the people who constantly show up for us on song releases to shows. I mean, the amount of people who come out and support Sophie and I is just awesome. We have such a good fan base, and a lot of that, we come from a really small town, and they support us like crazy, and we just are so appreciative of everything that they do, and that we don't stop. We're gonna keep on putting music out, and whether they like it or not, we're gonna keep doing it. We're gonna keep doing it, and we're gonna keep putting out songs that are from the heart, and that are pure Walker County, because we get to now, which is awesome.
Would you say you have a vivid imagination?
Yes, I think we always have. Always growing up. My mom used to tell us, she was like, I used to be like, okay, girls, back to reality. We've always just loved, as kids, loved to play and imagine. And so I think that definitely plays into being songwriters too. And also being really in touch with your emotions. I'm a very emotional person. And I think that all plays a part in just having a big imagination as well,
Yeah.
But
do y'all do anything else in the arts? Like write poems, draw, paint, something like that?
Yeah.
Or is it just music?
Yeah, I've always loved anything artsy. I'm not a pro at drawing or painting, but I love it. I love fashion too, so we'll do outfits and makeup
and hair makeup.
I think that's definitely an art in of itself. I also do some photography with my friend and stuff like that. So we're definitely
Sophie's
constantly looking for an artistic outlet. Yeah.
Sophie's definitely more the artistic one in outside of music. I can't draw to save my life. I can't paint to save my life. I'm very I can sing and write and play, but if you ask me to do anything else like that, my patience is very small. So if I'm not good at it, I give up really quickly.
That's your only fault. I think you could do it if you sat down.
Maybe, I'm just not patient enough. But Sophie, she's great at all that stuff.
How have y'all changed since you've moved to Nashville?
Oh, completely.
Crazy.
Yeah, completely different.
I think the important parts of your heart and your reasons and your family, that has never changed for us. We've always stayed very true. We know where our identity lays in the Lord and who He says we are. So that hasn't ever shifted for us. But just as artists and individuals, I think we've just grown up so much, and we've
grown up.
Learned a lot. We've learned how to hold our own. We've learned what we like, what we don't like. And I think just also being from a small town, it's very hard to, picture a big wide world out there, and with a bunch of different kinds of people. And that's been something that we've learned over the years. It's just
how to work with all kinds of individuals, personality types and all that. It's just, we did a lot of growing up.
Yeah. So we're definitely
quickly. It was. And that's why I always say the time at the label, yes, it was trying, and there's a lot that a lot of ups and downs, but it was needed. Like we needed to go through that season, and because it made us into who we are. And yeah.
What is the easiest emotion for you guys to write about?
Sad.
Yeah, I think being sad or
Easy.
upset
Yeah.
is like the easiest.
We always
too.
we always say love songs are the hardest songs to write. I don't know why, but it's almost like you're more vulnerable writing a love song because you're telling somebody how you feel than you are when you're just sad and mad. Because when you're sad and mad, you can just write it for days. Like, oh, I hate you. You know, I'm so mad. But then when you have to get really vulnerable and to like tell somebody you love them, like, and I always think that a love song is so much harder than a sad song.
Yeah. I think the love is just so much more of a simple emotion. Like there's not many ways to describe it when like anger and you're upset.
Oh, there's 1,000 ways.
Jealous and you're, you know, I think there's a lot more avenues you can go down whenever you're upset.
So we're really good at writing sad songs.
If you guys could sit down and have a beer with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, that's a great question.
I don't know if Dolly Parton drinks, but we would love to talk to Dolly Parton. We've been fans of hers since we were so little. You had a Dolly Barbie hanging in your room. Oh yeah. Dolly was like a huge inspiration to us, songwriting wise, just her story. She started out so young, and she's somebody who works her booty off to get, you know, to be the star she is. And we've always admired her work ethic and just her as a person. So I think Dolly would be for sure a good one. Oh yeah. Really good one. Yeah. Just to ask her how she stayed sane through it all.
Do you think Dolly Parton would enjoy your music?
I hope she would. We definitely draw a lot of inspiration from her. So I think so. And I think that she always seems to be like a very good supporter of like young female artists. So I think just even in that, she'd be sweet about it.
Even if she didn't like it, she'd pretend she did.
She'd be nice about it, I feel.
Describe the perfect day.
Perfect day. Oh, man.
We like to go to the gym in the morning. We like to be able to get a workout in.
Yeah.
It'd probably be doing that. And then what did you say?
I don't know.
If it's
shopping.
Shopping.
So bad. I think like when you said that though, my mind immediately went back to like a summer day in Indiana. Like I feel like that it to me is like going to a garage sale with my grandma like in Indiana. That would be my perfect day. I think that's where my mind immediately went. Not going to the gym, watching a movie.
What are we doing? Yeah, going out to Mexican for margaritas, and
that is also the perfect day as well.
Perfect day. Yeah, we have many different different avenues we could go down. Yeah. If you're talking music day, you know, there's something different. If you talk about, you know, just relaxing
day to day, right?
Yeah.
What hurdles in music do you guys still need to overcome?
That's a good one. I mean, I don't know. I think you constantly compare yourself to others in music. And that's a big one that like we try not to, but you still are constantly going, they're doing this. Like, why is it working for them? Or what did we not do that we could have done where this would have been better? I think that's one thing that you have to work on daily as an artist, is to not compare yourself to other artists, because everybody's story is different. And that's a hard one to not look at, because with social media, you constantly see, I mean, new artists, 1,000 artists doing things all the time. So that's definitely something we probably have to work on. Yeah.
Besides music, what are y'all interested in?
Honestly, we love makeup and fashion and hair. My mom has owned her own beauty shop for, I mean, I don't know, 30 years now.
I think it's past that.
It's longer than that. And I mean, I remember before we decided to go full force on music, I thought I was going to go to beauty school. I was going to do hair maybe with my mom. But it's funny because music though, and performing is side to side with that. Like when you're a musician, the way you look and the way you dress is also a selling point to your music. So I think we're constantly going. We have a photo shoot coming up, and Sophie's already piecing together outfits and styling. So we're definitely like super into that, and I think you see that on our social media as well. We try to share that aspect of ourselves as well.
What is your most useless talent?
Oh man,
this is terrible because I never know this answer. What did we say? We got asked this in an interview sometime, and you ratted me out for something. I can't remember.
I don't remember. Now I don't know.
You said I could do some impression, and then they asked me to do it. And I was like,
you're Celine Dion or something. I don't know. Useless talent. It's not like totally useless, but I love to bake too. So I'll make like really good like sugar cookies and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a talent. Like
she used to even have like a side hustle. She called herself the bitchin' baker. And she made cookies.
I've had so many side hustles this time. But I don't know. Is that useless?
No, that's useful, okay. I think. Yeah.
Be a useful talent.
Yes.
If the sugar cookies are good.
Yeah.
A useful talent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that wasn't a good answer then.
I'd like to think none of our talents are useless, but I don't know. We probably have a few of them.
Yeah, I don't have any party tricks or anything.
I know. We don't. We're boring.
What is the best advice you've been given in music?
I think the best and worst advice.
Oh yeah, this is true.
That never have a plan B. Like just only a plan A. Like just do your plan A. If you commit to music, just do it.
We always
and I say that's also the worst because it's hard. It's definitely like if you're going to play doing music fully and only, and you only see it as like this has to work. I mean, it's great motivation, but it is also like
when it doesn't work, you have to figure out what your plan B is pretty quick. And I think that's kind of where we always laugh about it because we're like, that's the best and worst advice. No plan B, but also maybe in the back of your mind,
maybe a little plan B, just in case,
just in case things don't work out. Yeah.
Well, I like to ask this question to musicians. How do you feel mental health, or what role does mental health play in music?
Yeah. It's a big part of artists, I think, everyday life because like we were saying earlier, you pour your heart and your whole self into your projects. So when you're writing a song, you spent hours writing that song. You created it out of most of the time personal experiences. Mm-hmm. And then when things don't work out, I mean, it feels like you're just like, you're done. You're like, nobody gets me, and that can send you into definitely like, I feel like we've both gone through depression and just anxiety and all those things. So, taking care of your mental health and prioritizing it is very important because I feel like, it's something you have to deal with every day as creative.
Check with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think when you pursue any kind of passion of yours, like, and you face rejection a lot. I think a lot of people that have like an artistic like career, you face rejection a lot in any industry, even like actors or whatever. They just face that, and it's part of it, and it's hard to not take it personally and go like, oh, you're saying that like about me, like, when in reality it's like they just don't understand what somebody else is going to understand. But
we've lost our minds 1,000 times in this journey. I mean, there's been so many times where we've just been like bawling and crying and we're done, we give up. There's so many times, but the one thing that has been a blessing to us is being a family. We've always been able to rely on each other for check-ins, like, you're going to be okay. How are you doing? Do you feel like you want to do this? Is this something you want to do? We've had to ask each other that and be like, if you don't want to do this, we don't have to do this. We can say no. Or that's been a good thing. Checking in with each other. Our parents are super involved. Having them all the time check in with us has been, a blessing to us.
All right, ladies, it's been a pleasure having you guys on. I've really, really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Where can your fans find out more about you?
We have our website, it's walkercountymusic.com. Super easy to remember. We will share a lot of stuff on there. But any social media, we have
Walker County,
Facebook, TikTok, all of that, X, all under Walker County. So we'll be posting on there a lot too.
At Walker County, and we post almost daily. We try to.
We try
to be good at it.
All right. Now, my final question.
Yes.
What are 2 questions you've never been asked in an interview, and what are the answers to those questions?
Okay.
We got,
I do know. I think, I don't even know. I really don't know if anyone's ever asked this, but, what role our parents have played in our career and in, our music life. I think for us, they're like an integral part of what we do, but it's kind of always been the focus on me and Ivy, and also in the industry. Parents have a bad rep, like if they're involved with their kids' careers.
Yeah.
And that's something people don't really ask about, is our parents and what they've done to help us.
Which they've done absolutely.
They've done everything, and we wrote a song about it. But I would say they quite literally gave up their entire lives to see our dreams come true. And they really did. They quit great jobs. My mom had her own beauty shop business that she had worked years to build back home in Indiana. She left her whole family. My dad left his family. Like, nobody in their generations had left Indiana, to move away. And they did for us, and they supported us, and they constantly tell us,
oh yeah,
you can do it. You don't have to, you just keep trying, just constant encouragement. So that's something that I don't think any interviewer has asked us. About really.
We talk about our parents a lot, but
we'll bring it up.
Nobody else has asked us about it. Yeah. And then, I don't know, probably the same thing as our faith, like how big our faith plays a part, of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We know where we stand in our faith, and we know there's been so many times where we've not known how we were going to pay a bill, or while we were pursuing this dream, or why we were here, and God has just showed up 1,000 times over and over again. So that's been a question I don't think people ask.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I have one more question for each of you, and then we're going to have to cut this off. We're rolling on pretty good, but how are y'all doing individually?
I'm doing great. I'll tell you what, every day is a blessing that I get to work with my sister, work with my family, write music. I try to have a positive attitude a lot of the times, and I know I have the joy of the Lord in me, so I am usually really joyful. And you know what, today has been great, and just sitting down drinking beer. I'm not a beer drinker, and I've had a blast, and I've taken a couple sips of this. I have, a matter of fact, but yeah, we're doing great.
I feel the same way. I have such a good life. I have a great husband, great family, and we're all so close. And we know, Walker County is amazing, and it's something we're always going to do. But we also know that we're so blessed with so many other things outside of music, which is so important to also have a life outside of what you're doing and what you're creating at all times. So we're just really blessed, and yeah. We're having a good year.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, one more question. You brought up a point. Do you think a lot of artists have a life outside of music?
I hope so. I think that's definitely something Sophie and I had to learn, though.
Mm-hmm.
When we thought about, when we were leaving the label and everything, and thought what if tomorrow we woke up and one of us was like, we're done with music, or whatever.
Walker County was gone.
County was gone.
Where would we be?
How would we be able to live with ourselves and go on and keep, living a happy life?
You have to know where your identity is and what it's in. and then everything else is a blessing and
It's a
something
plus.
you can
Yeah.
work on. But if you don't have that and that knowledge of like who you are as an individual,
Yeah.
I can see how
If you
people get
can't-
lost
yeah.
in it. And I don't know. I hope people do have lives out of their careers, because there was a couple years there where we did not. And
Yeah.
it was hard. It was constant, and it burns you out a little bit, and
Yeah.
it takes the fun out of it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
You got to find happiness in other things. I think you have to constantly be doing things that go, this makes me happy as well. I have a family. I have so much fun. Just if me and Sophie were hanging out and we weren't writing a song, we still have an absolute blast. You know, that's what you got to
Yeah.
find, and you got to thrive in that as well. And like Sophie said, the Walker County thing and the music, it just has to be it's a plus. That's an awesome thing we get to do together. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for checking out this interview. I hope you learned something today. I definitely did. And if you want to know more about these young ladies, you can check them out on all their social media platforms. All right. Thank you.
Tell her she's pretty. Give her a smile and let her know there ain't a thing she's gotta change. Instead of breaking her heart, maybe give her a break today. Mirror, mirror, I know you got a lot to say. You've seen every single